Hey everybody, welcome back to Play Casket. These are your co-hosts, Paraka the Goblin.
And Ghost, your co-host.
And this week we're going to be talking about Zelda clones.
Episode 35. It's dangerous to go a clone.
And basically what we're talking about as far as Zelda clones, just to put it a cap, anything that's kind of like a top-down, kind of uses items that you gain through each dungeon to basically solve said dungeon and basically fight off some Dark Force storyline nonsense and all that. A lot of what Zelda clones are basically is few dungeons, items out the wazoo, and your character is always some kind of like legendary hero of Sword and Shield.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, the formula is done really, really nice, and you can kind of tell what it is. For the most part, it's, you get the item, you get the skill.
or power up or something.
Yeah. So there's dungeon, item, use the item on the dungeon, and then use it on the boss.
Yep, that's kind of the formula for most of it. And of course, there's always trying to find the new dungeon with that item as well to unlock the next dungeon and repeat the process. So, or get to the other area that has the dungeon, stuff like that, basically. So, we're going to go ahead and talk about some good clones, right? Like, being a clone isn't necessarily a bad thing. There is a difference between clones and ripoffs. There is some ripoffs out there that are just trying to get the capacity out there to just ride on the wave of somebody else's coattails. Like, that's basically it, you know? And there's going to be a couple out there that I'm going to call out because they're garbage. And even they can even end up coming from the same companies.
Yeah.
Like, it's not adverse otherwise. So we're gonna go ahead and talk about good clones, and I know you got a little list, so I'm gonna go ahead and let you go ahead and start.
Okay, so the first one is the Darksiders series.
That's a good game.
Yeah, they're really good. It gets everything done really, really well, and then I would say it has like the brutality of God of War kind of like sprinkled into it too. But
I wouldn't say like God of War. There's some combat that's very more embellished on it than your usual Zelda, and otherwise like it's more flashy, and I think it's because some of the artists and stuff that they didn't have are like comic book artists and stuff, so they wanted to send a type of message that they're not your father's Zelda type of like influence, a little impression.
It's simpler is a lot easier, I think. Like from War to Death looks way better.
No, I still like War more.
Yeah.
They actually drew them all at the same time.
Yeah, okay.
So they were all the way they look now were always the original creations. There's actually a art book in the original Darksiders that you can try to find out there. It's hardcover. It's amazing. But the rough ideas of each one, they already had those guys blocked out ready for them all.
Okay.
I do think Death looks cooler, like as far as like markability and stuff, because one, he's Death, and second, he's simplified enough that people can read him. You know, whereas War, there's a shit ton of stuff on him. Like you look at him like, what is that, a gauntlet, or is that his hand, or is that something else? Like it's so, there's so much stuff going on War.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of stuff going on with Fury as well. That's very similar.
Oh, okay.
However, for the most part, like, I would agree that Death would be more marketable, but I do like War more.
Okay.
Now continue.
But yeah, the dungeons are done pretty well. It's a lot of like backtracking too, which is like what I really, really like about the Zelda games is what you find something, you're like, what the hell is this? And then you go and get the new item, and you're like, oh, I remember where this is at. And you backtrack, and you open it up, and it's like super satisfying. So.
Yeah, and I do like a lot of that too, like stuff that gives people purpose to retread some grounds and stuff like that. I do like if there's an alternative like trial and stuff like that in games, but not many Zelda games, let alone Zelda clones, do that. I'll talk more about that in a bit, but I
do think one formula that Darksiders doesn't really have down yet is the what was it? Like how God of War, you just keep pushing through, but in Zelda you gotta like memorize the entire layout of the dungeon, if that makes any sense. Yeah, because God of War. Oh, what was that?
There's a win.
But
This place is haunted.
yes,
That's how a mausoleum works. You're a ghost. That's how that happens.
I'm supposed to be the only one in here, right?
Uh-huh.
But I like how in Zelda you have to memorize the layout, but with God of War or Darksiders, it's you just kind of keep pushing through. You still got to kind of figure out what to do in this room, but Zelda's layout is still kind of where it's at, I think.
Yeah, I think a lot of the dungeon layouts in Darksiders is very simple.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not too elaborate like Zelda's has been, and that's why there's always been maps. But no, I do think Darksiders 2 kind of helped improve on that. I didn't get to play much of Darksiders 3 yet, so
Okay.
it's I can't say anything about that. But I do think, from my understanding, each Darksiders game has been approached with a different theme in mind.
Yeah.
Whereas the original Darksiders was more like a traditional Zelda, and Darksiders 2 is kind of similar to how Breath of the Wild is now.
Yeah.
Like, it came out before Breath of the Wild, so I'm not saying it's a clone of Breath of the Wild, but it's one of those, what if it's more of an open world game that takes a lot of RPG elements
Yeah.
and such like that. So Darksiders 2 took a lot more of an adventure game. And then, from my understanding, and I haven't played it yet, Darksiders 3 takes more of a Dark Souls like boss combat approach to things. So the dungeons in the third, I heard, were probably the most simple, but also the most complex when it comes to competing against characters and fighting and stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah, well, I'll give them props for that too. That each Darksiders feels really different. They should keep that up too.
And Darksiders Genesis is Gauntlet.
Yeah.
That's basically it.
So yeah, each one should be different, which is what I really like, because it incentivizes you to buy each new one instead of just kind of like, here's more stages and here's some quality of life fixes.
Well, there's a difference between making sequels and then making sequels that are entirely different and stuff. So obviously the excuse is that they're each one of the characters are different. So it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
But I will say the most people compare Darksiders to is Zelda. And I think it's actually kind of really amusing that we had so many people wanting a mature Zelda around the time Darksiders 1 and 2 came out. They're like, I don't want kiddie Zeldas. I don't want cel shading. I want a Zelda that's really mature and is willing to get bloody and stuff. And then some company comes out, makes literally what you want, and then you're like, no. I just want Zelda to be bloody. They gave you a bloody Zelda, and it's really hilarious because you, like, for everyone out there who wanted a mature Zelda, you all know who you guys are. Every single one of you who hated Zelda because it wasn't growing up with you, you all know. You guys were given one new one that you guys could take to the grave with you because you're all mature and, you know, late teens and you know everything, you know? And you guys just didn't get it. Like, I liked it. I enjoyed it because I liked Zelda. I was like, I'm going to get more Zelda. Like, I actually enjoyed it. But other people did not.
Yeah.
People are like, no, I don't want that. I want Nintendo to be this way. That's why everybody wants, like, certain games to be...
Man, if Nintendo did it, they probably wouldn't even touch it anyways.
Yeah, well, the thing is,
We're gonna
no,
play
people...
anyways.
The thing is that I think it's people wanting Nintendo to do the things that they want them to do. It's similar to how Pokemon is as well. People always want a new Pokemon fighter because, a Pokemon game that does more different things that they used to love, or more complicated things that they want Pokemon to do. Not because they want that company to be a success. They want Pokemon to better themselves so they can go back to it.
Yeah.
That's exactly what this is for Zelda. Like, people hated Wind Waker, even though a lot more people like it now. And they hated Skyward Sword. They didn't want this. It seemed too cartoony, too cel-shaded, too kiddie, too characteristic. Like, they wanted something grittier. They wanted the GameCube tech demo back, basically. They wanted that. And since Nintendo wasn't doing it, they're saying, oh, well, this game's going to overtake it. And then they don't even invest in it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem, what they had with that.
Yeah.
You know, but the series in of itself, as it stands alone, is actually a really good series, and I do think people should actually play it. You know, it's actually a really good one.
It's always on sale too, so like under
oh
10,
yeah, it's always on sale.
Yeah, put it in your wish list. It'll be like always under like $10.
Oh,
so.
it's $40 right now. Wait a week.
Yeah.
Like it's literally and I think literally it's outside of all THQ's acquisitions, the THQ Nordic acquisitions, Darksiders is probably going to be one of their biggest sellers. Mm-hmm. I do think if they play their cards right, the Blob, if they have a sequel, can also do that. But they've been doing remakes of Destroy All Humans, and it's been kind of like a 1-to-1 type of experience. So it still kind of has funky controls and stuff, but they've improved them. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, I don't see Destroy All Humans doing as well as they think they're going to. I think they're really appealing to a nostalgia, and that's actually still a good marketing campaign for a game like Destroy All Humans. But I do think Darksiders and The Blob would be far more marketable for them over time. Just because I do think because of The Blob's simplicity there that they can market it that, but then they have Darksiders as like the edgier angle of what they sell.
Oh, okay.
And that's where I stand. But I'm gonna go ahead and talk about my game because I've already ranted too much about Darksiders. Because there's so much. That's so much. There's so much deepness to that one. Like it's ridiculous.
Yeah, when you guys get a chance, just get it because, like, you know, all three of them will be probably under $10 in like the summer sale. Yeah, and you could easily get like 8 to 10 hours each game. So
yeah, easy. Yeah. And it's like that's from point A to point B. There's still some things you can probably collect and stuff like that as well.
So.
And I love a lot of the characters in them. Yeah. They're amazing. Yeah. The Raven Lord looked cool as hell.
Plus, like, I kind of miss that design. Everybody wants to do, like, ultra realistic. Like, it goes back to that good comic book feel.
It has, and it really is. It's like a 3D comic book feel. It is, like, over the top, very, like, articulate in a way that just, it feels like you're playing a comic book. It really does in 3D, and it's really cool. I really love that. The only other one that has ever done that is Battle Chasers.
Yeah, and before people start making games that look like Darksiders.
Yeah, right.
Because like everybody wants to do ultra realistic now. So
yeah everybody wants to because they're starting to push that. But then Uncanny Valley comes in and like none of your characters like think about it. Think about half the people you talk to every day and think about how many of them you're going to remember the next day.
Yeah.
That's how video games are going to end up being. Mm-hmm. And it's just like think about half of the games you played with main characters that are realistic today, and then think about whether or not you're going to think of them later. Like it's just like think about all the main characters in Call of Duty games. Mm-hmm.
Cell shaded game, and then everybody always thinks Zelda first before they think about all the other.
Even though there were so many cell shaded games beforehand and so many games afterwards, there was only one ever, and that was it from Zelda, and that's the entire identity of cell shading now. It's ridiculous. But
anyways,
continue. Let's go continue because we're rambling.
But this just be Darksiders the podcast.
The Darksiders episode. But no, this is actually one that had a lot of controversy when it was first revealed and stuff. And I will say, as a mechanically sounded game, it's still similar to Breath of the Wild, which was Genshin Impact. Now, the game has a lot of things that Breath of the Wild did and stuff, and there's obvious similarities, like just even at a glance. But there's several things that they do that I wish Zelda Breath of the Wild was doing. Mm-hmm. For one, they filled in a lot of the empty gaps in their world. That feels good. Like there's even though there's some stuff that's just out there. Mm-hmm. Like a guy that's camping or something, like you can go and cook something off of one of the things. So it's utility, and like every day you log in, you can go and like break off some more stuff and farm for more items and such, which is really cool, right? Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, the Breath of the Wild, they always had a lot of the trial shrines, right? Mm-hmm. But there was no reason to go back into them once you defeated them, right? Yeah. That was it. That's the end game. You're done. I wish that there was more, especially if you're a game that like has stuff that breaks, mm-hmm. such as Zelda. and more of a reason to go back in there to like farm items or something to that point, or like just have a purpose to go into there, or like extra purpose.
Yeah, all I do
like
is just mark
like
the
a hard
trial
mode
screens.
and stuff, like a hard mode or something like that inside it after the fact.
Yeah. Limited move
Genshin,
mode.
yeah,
That'd be kind of cool.
yeah. Genshin Impact kind of did the same. They said, after your hero evolves after this, or your ranks get to a certain level, or your characters get a certain level on average, and all this, you unlock like new modes with new challenges inside those trial zones, and they actually even add more in several updates later on into those things because they're instanced. They're not like in the same open world. They add more into them, so you just go in, you click them and stuff. Very similar to how you see a lot of other mobile games out there.
Yeah.
But so I do think what Genshin Impact did was actually really amusing in that aspect. However, this isn't me praising Genshin Impact. I do think Genshin Impact is still garbage. I'm just saying, as a clone, they did stuff that is really good.
Yeah.
However, Genshin Impact is riddled with gotcha mechanics, and it has a lot of grind walls and stuff like that, and it's just there's some pay to power too, and it's a toxic game overall. But
Just don't go on Twitter.
oh my god, that's the worst part of it. Even though as bad as that game is, Twitter is retarded. And yeah, there's that. It's just ridiculous, right? And so for a lot of people, you shouldn't play Genshin Impact. However, as a clone, it did a lot of things that I thought was actually pretty good mechanically.
I do like their elemental overcharge thing. Like if you hit one character with element, you switch and you hit the other, and then you hit it to overload them, stuff like that with like elements. It's pretty nice, but I think they could have just done it with weapons rather than constantly swapping in and out of character. Like I don't really like.
I think that was an interesting mechanic. I think like doing it with the weapons. Then what? Like, are you swapping elements with your sword? That's it would be the same thing.
Yeah,
basically.
I know.
Like,
But I don't know.
They're
it's
selling
just-
characters. They're selling characters. That's
Yeah.
why they do it with the characters as opposed to doing the weapons.
Yeah.
Because weapons don't sell as well as having a character that people like.
I
That's
guess
just
that's
simply
what,
that.
Was it 4-player co-op? Is it? Yeah, 4-player co-op. When you have 4 people with 4 different elements, then yeah, I can see it work really well. But I kind of wish that they would. I don't know. It's hard to get people to get together and play because you could probably just destroy stuff if you have like 4 elements. But yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. They want you to kind of flip through characters and certain characters that they want. That's kind of their selling point. But they could have done it with weapons. But the thing is, nobody buys rare weapons and stuff. It's silly to that point because then you're always looking at the same character you've always had this entire time.
Yeah.
So like, gotcha games sell better when they make new characters. That's just how it is. Anyway, how about any more good games for you?
Faerun.
Faerun, whatever it is. Like I just mess that one up every single time I say it.
Yeah, so I picked it up on the 3DS, and it was just giving me the classic Zelda vibe. Yeah, it reminded me a lot of the Oracle Seasons, so I picked it up. But it's really fun, and I like how like cute and descriptive it is. Yeah, so
Okay, what do you mean by descriptive?
just like looking at the descriptions, like they're talking about how like monsters don't attack cute girls, or some like really funny, stupid little descriptions that they would say.
Yeah, like quick jabs and stuff.
Yeah, they're really cute though. So, I haven't cleared this one yet though, but it's still a really good game. If you're really craving that classic Zelda feel, because Nintendo doesn't want to make it unless you buy their Game Watches. But
boo. No, they did a remake of Link's Awakening, so you can't quite say that. That's
just give us the Game Boy emulators already, guys. But,
so, yeah, that sounds like some good games, but we also need to talk about the bad games, and that's the reason why a lot of y'all are here right now.
Oh God.
So bad clones, basically, absolutely 100% rip-offs. Like ones that you like literally when you turn it on, like oh, I think I played this game before when it was good.
Star Fox Adventures. Fight me. Holy crap.
Furry Zelda. No, go ahead. No. You chimed in. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead. Back that up. Back that up instead of just taking a swipe like that.
Okay, so my expectations were like, oh my god, it's Zelda, but with Star Fox characters. And then you turn it on, and you're like, who the hell is this? Like, so you're like, okay, whatever, fine. She's pretty hot for fur. I'm no fur, but okay. And then you get to play Fox. You're like, oh shit, now it's really going down. Oh, he's using a spear. What? But I can't use my vehicles. What? And then it's like a lot of scavenging and. Oh man, I don't know. And then like the battles don't really feel all that engaging. It's not as like punchy and fun and
backflip, stabby, stab, backflip.
And I don't know. It all feels like it's really. It's missing something that Zelda has. I don't know what it is, but I got really really bored of it, and I watched my little brother beat it. I was like halfway through, and a lot of it's kind of like there's no quick travel, so. You're doing the same routines over and over again. And then I was like, oh my god, this is so boring. So I thought maybe it was just me. Mm-hmm. So I went back to go look at like the gameplay videos recently. And I'm like, oh my god, I feel sleepy just looking at the gameplay. Because maybe part 2, I don't know.
No, I don't think there will ever be a part 2.
Oof. So, goodbye, Crystal. Right?
Crystal was used in other future games, though. So, she's going to still be around.
So, I don't know. What did you think about Star Fox Adventures?
Star Fox... Me and Star Fox kind of had a love-hate relationship anyway. Like, I like the classic stuff. So, I was already upset that this game was an adventure game. Mm-hmm. I don't think I really liked it as much as it could have been if it was an original game. Like, they originally had it as just Dinosaur Planet.
Yeah.
But I think like the Star Fox will probably help make it sell better.
Yeah, because Dinosaur Planet nobody cared, but
nobody cared because
but it had Star Fox slapped onto it. Yeah, people.
Yeah, and it was already a on a system that was struggling to really adapt more ideas. Mm-hmm. Because if the GameCube sold like, let's say for instance like the Switch, they probably would have just kept it and just like it's Dinosaur Planet, just kind of like how they had a couple new ideas for the 3DS and then a couple ideas they had for the Switch. Yeah, a couple of them failed. Like Flip Wars failed. Like Flip Wars failed so bad that it took me 2 hours to get a full lobby when the game was a month old.
Oh jeez.
Like, there wasn't any other options, but people were still preferring those options over Flip Wars. And that's how bad that game's old. Then there's games like Good Job and The Stretchers that you could probably play co-op and stuff, and they're pretty decent games. They still failed. They're smaller projects. But Nintendo is making bank off everything else.
Yeah.
Because there's so many other people buying up everything else. Like, because... Like, for instance, the same month that Good Job released, and it's a fun little, like, game, puzzle game and stuff, Pokemon probably just sold that enough to make up for it that very same month. Mm-hmm. Like, that's how much it was selling. Okay. So I think when going back to Star Fox Adventures, I think Nintendo was trying to get more identity to the GameCube and was like, hey, can you guys throw Star Fox onto it? It would actually be a really good idea, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And they just did that.
Yeah.
You know, because it was mechanically, they could see that happening because the characters were already furry characters. And like, well, yeah, we can do that. You know, as opposed to Eternal Darkness, they couldn't really do that with any of the characters they had. Like, I don't think Captain Falcon's going to do a lot of dark mysteries and going insane. I don't think that'll work very well. You know, and I think that's what happened with it, right? So I was already upset with it. I was upset with it that it was not a Star Fox I didn't like, and it was also a Star Fox game I did not ask for, and it was also not a new IP I was expecting for the last 2 damn years. So for that, I'm upset, right? That being said, but yeah, no, that's basically on that end, but I also have one that I want to talk about that's also really, really stupid. It's 3D Dot Game Heroes. That was... When it first came out, it was supposed to be a PS3 exclusive and all that, and I remember a lot of people just being smug about it because at the time, the Twilight Princess was already being poo-pooed on, and then there was already Skyward Sword that's always having issues for having gimmick controls and all this. So because all of that, people just wanted a classic Zelda experience. Well, you had to get a PS3 for that because people were just all upset about it. But it was classic. So yeah, everybody was craving it. They're like, yeah, in your face and all that. It finally releases. It releases with a lot of weird gimmicks in it, right? To kind of like harvest stuff and get grind coins and all sorts of weird crap. On top of that, there was hit detection problems. There was like lag problems, loading problems. There was all sorts of weird. It was riddled with a lot of. None of them were like inherently bad by itself, but collectively, you lose your interest over time.
Okay.
And it really did nothing that really changed things up. It was literally a voxel based Link to the Past. That's basically it.
Okay.
That was all what it really was. That was all it was going for, and it was wildly successful at first, and then it just dropped off the face of the earth, like it just gone, and that was it.
Damn.
And that it was like it wasn't a bad game, as in it was a it was just a mechanical mess. It was just a bad game because it was straight up everything Link to the Past put into 3D. And then just did no execution whatsoever. It was a boring Link to the Past.
Damn.
It served no purpose. So it was an absolutely horrible one. But I would say, overall, like there's probably plenty more out there because I don't play that many outside Legend of Zelda in of itself, and it's not because I have many problems.
What else? Dark Cloud.
Oh, yeah, Dark Cloud, too. Yeah. Dark Cloud's really weird because I think it kind of teeters on things, too. Like, it kind of teeters on RPG / Zelda because there's a lot of dungeon crawling in it and stuff, too. So.
I mean, my biggest issue is just the town building becomes such a chore. Like,
well, I kind of liked town building when I was a kid. Like, I liked the concept. Like, even looking back, I'm like, I actually would play that again over that. But they would need more emphasis on it and more like reward when you do it. It just doesn't feel like a reward now.
Yeah.
But I do think like the concept, the idea was great, but the execution of it was a slog. It was a real big slog for me.
So.
Anything else you got?
I don't know. Any future clones you're looking forward to?
No, because honestly, Breath of the Wild 2 is probably the only adventure game that's like that I'm actually interested in right now. I have not seen much beyond that. How about you?
I mean, I would like to see the Dark Souls guys make a Zelda game. That would be cool.
I don't think that'll ever happen. That's kind of like a dream thing. We should talk about dream ones one of these days. That would be really good.
Yeah. But Hidetake Miyazaki's really good at like just lore. Yeah, and he makes you really, really curious on like, wait, what the hell? Like, he drives your imagination to be more curious at like the lore because he feeds you just enough to be like extremely, extremely curious at like what the past is, I guess, or what the current scenario is because Zelda has a lot of that too, where they'll give you some story. But
Breath of the Wild does do a lot of hinting at that and stuff too. If you're a huge Zelda fan, go watch his stuff. It's actually pretty amazing.
Yeah.
His stuff is like it breaks down a lot of like the old like ruins and stuff without any other stuff that's going on.
What YouTuber?
Huh?
What YouTuber?
Black Zelda Crisis or something like that, or Celtic.
Celtic? Okay.
Those two go back and forth. Like those two are actually really good. But yeah, I would definitely go see their stuff. But Zelda does do a bit of that in Breath of the Wild without ever directing it and stuff. So we'll see one day. We'll see how Breath of the Wild 2 rolls out. But I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this one up. This one's a big, long, lengthy one of half of it being Darksiders, the rest of it being bad Zelda games.
Yeah, tell us in the comments what your guys'
what other ones have we
didn't
not
miss.
seen? Like, what
What
other
you
ones
guys
have we
like.
not mentioned and stuff that you would like to hear about and stuff, and other ones that you want to tell other people to avoid, or you guys need to look into this and stuff. And I am willing to play a horrible Zelda game one of these days and just give all sorts of wonderful highlights.
Maybe we did run across one, but I just don't remember them. But yeah.
But yeah, go ahead and give us a comment, and we will see you on the other side. Hey everyone, this is Paraka.
And Ghost.
I would like to say thank you for listening to our podcast.
If you like our content, give us a thumbs up. Subscribe and share our video with your friends.
You can also follow and support us on other social media such as Minds and Rumble. Links in the description below.